Fact. Americans are not good with nuance. Okay? That's a fact. If they were good with nuance, we wouldn't call them Americans. We'd call them United Stations. And they would understand that that's the correct term. But because they're horrible at understanding minute differences between the same side or the same aspect or even similarities, that whole perspective is thwarted in their brain, we call them Americans. For instance, I'm Canadian. Mexicans, Brazilians, shoot, even all the folks from where I come from, the Caribbean, we're all Americans. We're technically all Americans, right? But United Stations literally think they're the only Americans here. So everybody is not like them. So you're able to have these cultural moments where a guy called Kendrick Lamar can come up here and say, Canadians and everyone else are not like us. And everybody runs behind it because that is the idea. The idea is nuance, black or white. That's what we're on. What's a nuance? What's the gray area? Well, same thing when it comes to the tariffs or the conversation of this tariff war. If United Stations understood the nuance of what Canada provides to them, they wouldn't even they wouldn't even entertain a conversation. Everybody, it wouldn't be like a partisan conversation of, oh, the Democrats versus the Republicans. No, everybody would say, this is stupid. Canada has the upper hand. As soon as we tariff them, they're going to tariff us back. And the problem is we buy in terms of more useful things from them than they buy in terms of useful things from us. We don't need, realistically, as Canadians, all the BS products that we buy as a consumer base, from consumerism POVs. We don't really need those things. A lot of the things that we actually need, we can get here in Canada. Even like, for instance, Heinz ketchup. You don't need Heinz. You can get French's, right? So there's alternatives to probably every single thing that a Canadian buys into. But let's look at New York, for example. There's large segments of that state that depend on Ontario for their electricity. There's no alternatives for that. They would just be shut out. And obviously, we can't shut them out. That would be an act of war. But we just raise the rates. And now, the economic hub of the United States, New York, would be tethered to pay such large amounts of money just to engage life. See, when United Stations don't understand, or I should say, when United Stations Americans don't understand the nuance that is provided to them or the nuance that surrounds their world, because there is a melting pot. Over here is salad. Everybody keeps their culture, that keeps their wits about them and moves day to day. United States, everybody amalgamates, loses their accent, picks up the closest, nearest accent. Even if you're within and born within there, let's say you're from LA and you move to New York, you're going to start speaking like the New Yorkians. You move from New York and you go to Atlanta, you're going to start speaking like the Georgians. It is just the nature of the space. Why? Because it's 50 states, and folks don't even understand that a state is like Israel, a state, a country. A state is realistically a country. And the idea of calling us United States means they're United States. They're a union of states. So already there, the nuance has already gone out the window, because most folks don't even see that, because we've conflated terms and words and the colloquial way of speaking English. There's a American English, United States English versus British, Canadian, whatever form of English, where English comes from. This is the idea of being American. Everybody else is using leaders. Let's not use leaders. Let's use whatever they're using. Who cares? Like, I don't even care. Okay, everyone else is using pounds. Let's not use pounds. Let's just use whatever we're going to use. Kilograms, whatever. Like, or everyone's using kilos, we're going to use pounds. Everyone's using liters, we're going to use gallons. You get what I'm saying? Like, for no reason. Like, you know what? We can get away with it because we've become the world standard for the dollar. We are the tether. Everybody tethers their money to us to have an idea of economic growth. to participate on the economic stage, to participate on the world stage. You got to participate with our dollar, right? So even in the crypto space, when everyone got afraid, they would tether their dollars, or they would connect their dollar to a coin that is tethered to the USD that doesn't move up or down. So it shows you that just culturally, we've all accepted this. We've all accepted that we have this one cousin or this one friend or this one business partner who we allow to think and behave ignorantly on purpose. There's like, let's purposely just act like they're big and bad, to the point where we allow them to actually be big and bad. Trillions of dollars spent in war efforts that a lot of people are going to point their finger to say it's the United States, but United States is a hired gun. It's a hired gun that moves on the motives of the highest bidder. And the highest bidder ends up usurping the entire system in a way through lobbying and other factors, which is a bit more complex to get into at this point. But the average United States still believes that their government and country is run by them, is run by that United States consciousness, when it could be bought by China, could be bought by Russia, could be bought by Canadians. Anybody could run United States. It's just, do you want to keep running it? Like, like I'll spend up a couple bill and run it for maybe a year or two, but then it's going to get a bit too expensive. Let's throw it off to someone else to run. That is what the US is. And it's crazy that the actual populace don't even understand that. They don't even have that self-awareness of the role they play. I'm not gonna lie, most Canadians, we don't know the kind of awareness we play, but until we get shaken up like this, then everybody here understands, oh dang, this is the resources we have, this is the power we have, this is the power we don't have. And it's back to status quo. It's pretty simple here. The populace is not that large to conflate and to get yourself confused on what side of the coin you are. You kind of know what side of the coin you are, if you're on the have or the have-nots, or at what degree of having not you are at. And then everything else is like, the chips fall where they fall. It's pretty simple. In the United States, there's so many loopholes and so much bending of language and so many forms of English being used, right? Like the legalese, there's levels of legalese. There's certain forms of legalese that are actually not even in alignment with the legalese it's built on. There's certain forms of like doctrines and laws, and like the amount of ways things can happen in the United States towards the same means, or skinning the cat different ways. Like, that is a thing. When you have 50 states, 50 countries that are unified, and different cultures of how each country wants to move, and a format where regardless, every country and how it wants to move will still and can still communicate with all the other countries. That means I can, by myself, say, this is how I want to move, and then create 49 whatever different ways of interacting based on everyone else I have to interact with. That's kind of like Quebec here, but Quebec and the provinces here in Canada is a bit different of a system. We're not technically even a country union or anything of the above. We're just a colony, defunct colony. That's a longer conversation. But at the end of the day, Quebec is the only guy out here saying, hey, I can move different. And then we know, okay, you want to do your taxes, or you want to sign up for this, or you want to do this, or you want to get this grant, or you want to whatever. It applies to all the other provinces except Quebec, or except Quebec and PEI, or whatever certain scenarios. But it doesn't get much more complex than that. You just know, okay, it's this or that, right? It's not like it's this or it could this, or I can move to Georgia and do my taxes here, or I could own property in Nevada and I could do it here, or we can go over to Texas where we could stand your guard and wait for our enemy, and when he comes to attack us, we kill him there, and it's not murder. Like, there's so many ways to do anything. Like, you could literally get away with anything and everything in the United States because there's so many adverse and obtuse and just contrasting ways of life within the same quote-unquote country. But it's not. It's a union of countries, union of states. And that's when you start understand, oh, okay, goddamn, that's like Europe. You could be like right here, walk 30 steps and you'll be in a whole other state. Like, you be in Botswana or whatever, and now you're in Lithuania or whatever. I don't know. I'm using the wrong countries probably. But you get the point and get the gist of what I'm saying. For United Stations to be standing there with their arms stretched and when they don't realize, oh God, we're a union of states like Europe. We're no different in terms of our perspective about each other and traveling than an Italian traveling to France. We shouldn't see ourselves any different than that. But no, they feed themselves together. They sing the same national anthem, blah, 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 one language. So it conflates everything, and everybody can't see the nuance of even how their colonies were formed, how each part of the union was formed. People disassociate from their own history and latch onto the mainstream, which can be, again, like I said, bought and controlled by the highest bidder. So that's all I want to say. It's kind of long-winded to say something simple, but I think I got the point across. Peace.